All right, welcome to the pod. Very exciting. Ric Flair. Nature boy Ric Flair came to see his old buddy Jim Harbaugh. No better time.
Woo!
Dialing and profiling, kiss stealing, limousine riding. That was fun. Jim Harbaugh. So they met when he was a Bears quarterback and have been friends ever since. Of course they have.
Of course.
Like, there is a battle royal going on.
Yes, a Royal
Right?
Rumble.
Your Royal Rumble is going on, and he's as calm as Ric Flair knowing the script. I don't know if like Harbaugh's just like, yeah, what? What's that? See how Blake hit the hole today in practice?
Yeah, he's focused on the team and the game, Dan.
Roman cut on that slant right and perfect. JJ, what a leader. I don't know. He's hanging out with Ric Flair. Of course he is. Rick said, Tony Petitti, you show up, you're going to get Ric Flair. 79-year-old or whatever it is. Anyway, love Ric Flair. Good times. The Michigan scandal remains the big story because we got no idea whether Jim Harbaugh will or will not coach Saturday's game against Penn State.
Kind of a big game.
We don't know if Jim Harbaugh will ever coach at the University of Michigan again. Probably. I don't know. We don't know if he's going to coach again this year. We don't know. We are in a waiting period. Michigan is trying to, respond to the Big Ten's word that they may be punished for the sportsmanship policy. And so so probably either Wednesday night or Thursday. Does the Big Ten wait till late Thursday to try to beat a court injunction because Friday is a holiday? There's all sorts of, we're going into all that. This is the number 3 team in the country. This is a delicious mystery. There are now more stories popping out, as quite easily seen by anyone who's paid any attention. Pandora's box is open, and how much flows out and for how long remains to be seen. Pat, you had a story following up on a Larry Lage AP story about multiple schools sharing Michigan signs after they played them with a future Michigan opponent to try to help that opponent defeat Michigan. I mean, presumably that would be the goal. What more do you have on this? We'll get to all the other stuff if I'm not setting the table, but we have no ruling for Michigan until Wednesday night, Thursday. We don't know. And certainly a full suspension for the rest of the season is absolutely on the table here from the Big Ten, and probably, I don't know, maybe their most likely move. It could be 2 games. It could be the whole thing. This is wild. This is absolutely wild. So never even heard of it. There was the Cam Newton situation, which they ended up not sitting Cam Newton, or they had enough lawsuits, but this would be a head coach. Crazy. So anyway, Pat, what is your latest on this?
Yeah. This is an unprecedented situation that I can think of, where we could have a conference take out the coach of its best team and a number 2 ranked team in the playoff poll, or number 2 in the AP poll, number 3 in the playoff poll, and a strong national championship contender. But that's on the table right now. So what I could add to the equation, a little more detail on information that has come to Michigan from people who believe that Michigan is somewhat being unfairly, targeted for something that goes on a lot of places. The differentiation being nobody that we know of or has ever heard of in college football has done what Connor Stallions did. Okay? So that is a whole separate thing. But the general idea of teams getting signals of future opponents is not some unique thing. And so Michigan has received documents that it was told were sent to a Big Ten school from 2 other Big Ten schools saying, hey, here's all their signs. And it's sheets or documents that have list about 18 what they say are running plays with the corresponding hand signals. Running in place or pretending to spike a pass means this, means that, whatever, all the different hand signals there's maybe a dozen pass plays. There's maybe a half dozen play action plays. So it goes into pretty good detail. It's not videotape of people actually doing the signs. It's not diagrams of people doing the signs, but it is what opposing schools decoded from watching Michigan tape and from playing Michigan. And then they were sent to, yes, a future opponent. So does this exonerate what Connor Stalions did? No, it does not. What it does is it kicks up a massive prairie dust storm of complication, convolution, equivocation. And do we have a distinction without a difference here between how people have gotten a competitive advantage and how they haven't? So that's where this basically lies, and I think that's going to be part of what Michigan throws back at the Big Ten. Says, you're going to penalize us for Connor Stalions, but look what other people were getting on us.
The last few days have been really interesting. The trickle of information has been fascinating to watch, really starting, Wednesday, Thursday with the coaches meeting and the ADs meeting, and then the meeting Friday with Tony Petitti and the Michigan officials. And over the weekend, the letter came out from the president. And then Monday, this kind of mountain of information of, Michigan is, the NCAA turned over its findings to the Big Ten, and the Big Ten alerted Michigan that they basically were in line for a penalty, and they're given 3 days or so to mount a response. And then Pat's information, the AP's information about Michigan's legal action that they plan on taking, which I think is two parts, right? The part that you just spoke about how other teams have done things when it comes to sign stealing, maybe not an elaborate scheme. And then I think the second part is, hey, there's no evidence right now that the NCAA has found that links Jim Harbaugh with this. So why would you penalize Jim Harbaugh? And I think that is obviously going to be the most fascinating, right, is what a judge or a court rules, if a suspension comes down, how a court or judge kind of handles this situation. It would be a temporary restraining order probably, which would delay a suspension and then lead to a preliminary injunction hearing that would make it permanent potentially. It's all really fascinating. I think the Big Ten's sportsmanship policy, I think it's going to rely on two things for this potential suspension. One, the sportsmanship policy, which is pretty vague and allows movement on either side, I guess you could say. And in the second part, I think, is pointing back to the NCAA's rule on head coach responsibility as well. So, man, it's I don't think I've ever seen anything like this.
No. So I'll get to Pat's that.
It's insane.
The sportsmanship policy actually never defines sportsmanship, which of course is impossible. It's like defining class, right? And this is we've long mocked when one school's yelling about class about the other school. It's like we've lost the point. We've lost the point. The Big Ten expects all contests involving member institutions be conducted without compromise to any fundamental element of sportsmanship. Such fundamentals include integrity of competition, civility toward all, and respect, particularly towards opponents and officials. That's it.
Yeah. Leaves a lot of leeway.
There's a lot of leeway there. So I don't know that. I think it'll be interesting if the names of these schools come out, they will leak out somehow. There will be, and maybe it's already happened. There will be a whole bunch of screaming then, because the story becomes a lot more tangible when it's this and this and this and this guy and that and whatever. But there's a couple different things. I don't think that this plot it has nothing to do with the Michigan case. Connor Stalions did what Connor Stalions did or didn't do, and Michigan can be punished for that, regardless of what everyone else do. You don't get away with murder because there are other people committed murder that night.
That's right.
Right. So it's not really a get out of a jail free card. It is, though, what I would think look, these guys haven't been paying attention the whole time because this was coming. I'd literally been laying this scenario out. It was like the third day of the scandal. I had a assistant coach go, well, are we using electronics to scout when I receive emails of other people sending me the signals? Because that was the big thing. You can't get advanced scouting and you can't use electronics. Like, did we violate the rules? They're all doing this. So I think it should be a shot across the bow to the Big Ten, which seems just barreling along like a runaway train, thinking that the tunnel is going to end and it's just halfway built and they're going to crash into the side of the mountain. That this is terrible precedent. So if Connor Stalions, merited a full-fledged NCAA investigation, send all of the John Duncan's men and women to find this thing out, and we need to alert other teams that Michigan might have your signals and the competitive balance here is out of whack. And all these coaches, oh my God, this is the worst thing that ever happened. If you happen to have someone's signals, you could get 20-point advantage in a football game. And this is the worst scandal. And everyone goes crazy. And you listen to all these people howling and screaming. And then you are presented evidence that at least 3 or 4 schools are involved in something else. Maybe it's not quite this, but it's kind of like this. Maybe it's a misdemeanor, not a felony, but it's like saying one car's going 100 and everyone else is on the speed limit. And you go, no, everyone else is going 90 or 85 or whatever. How do you listen to the coach that said, this is the worst thing ever to have signals, and they may have gotten the signals? Or they may have had somebody on their staff send the signals. Is it advanced scouting? Let's make it like, let's use Iowa as an example. Okay. Iowa's, if you want to advance scout, someone made this joke. You want to advance scout Iowa, steal their play.
Well, it's like it didn't Stallion. One of the only Big Ten game that Stallions or Big Ten team that Stallions didn't scout was Wisconsin. And the joke was, because I'll give you the scouting report right here. Run up the middle.
Yeah.
Like, if he raises his left hand, they're going to run it. If he raises his right hand, they're going to pass it. That's it.
No, if he raises his left hand, they're going to run it. If he raises his right hand, they're still going to run it.
Yeah, they're still going to run it. If he's just eating a hot dog over there, I don't know what he's doing. But, like, how can the NCAA and the Big Ten mobilize and take this like the biggest deal? Like, this has been a huge deal. And then get evidence that suggests other teams are doing something similar. Like, if we're going to boil it down to this, we need the fundamental element of integrity of the competition. Is the integrity of a competition compromised if 3 teams are ganging up on one team? I don't know. Wouldn't this merit something? And if it doesn't, now perhaps Michigan has a legal argument concerning this, because I think otherwise I could care less what these guys are doing. And look, I could care less if they're doing this at all, but the Big Ten and the NCAA turn this thing into like Stein sealing into Armageddon. It's just gamesmanship. Of course this is why you don't even try to enforce it. Of course someone's friend is sending hey, we don't want that team to win. I hate that coach. You're my friend. Here's what we learned about him. Of course you do that. So, like, Pat, what do you think? Like, where does this fall in the line, and how could it be crickets? Like, shouldn't if it's 2 schools and 1 or 3, shouldn't we be warning the opponents this weekend of whatever these teams are, that apparently according to the AP, Michigan turned this stuff over to the Big Ten. Shouldn't we be warning them?
Maybe they did. I don't know.
Man, ain't a whole lot. This is the leakiest boat on earth. Everyone was running to.
It is.
Maybe they did. Maybe they did. But
the fact that this boat is still afloat is somewhat shocking. Like what we're looking at here, guys, is a thin line of demarcation. Maybe even an erasable line, maybe a movable line. I don't know. But between allowable, not allowable, frowned upon, tolerated. I haven't talked to anybody in the coaching profession or athletic administration who doesn't think Connor Stallions crossed a line. Now, again, how big is that line between that and what schools were giving to from a Big Ten school to another Big Ten school? Maybe not that thick, but I've not found anyone who will support Connor Stallions say, hey, that's all right. That's just the way it goes. Whereas I've had a lot of people say, yeah, this is what coaches do. When you're getting ready to play somebody, you reach out to somebody on another staff and you say, what do you have on X? Now, was there, yes, to Dan's point, this is multiple schools. This could be seen or construed as a gang-up situation from people that do not like Jim Harbaugh or do not like Michigan and did not want to see Michigan advance to the college football playoff and win the Big Ten. And that alters the dynamic here. Honest to God, I don't know how this is the point you've been making all along, Dan, is how does the Big Ten walk that line? How do they satisfactorily? This has become almost like the Supreme Court. Was it Warren Berger that said, the definition of pornography, I know it when I see it? Very vague.
How much porn did that guy watch? How much porn did that guy watch?
We should, God.
Check the hard drives back then. Yeah, my God.
Back then, that's
dirty bastard, man. Jeez.
Like home movies, you got to get like sent off the
old school. Yeah, you had to go to like a theater or something in like a shaky part of town. Yeah.
20 minutes in, the pod has shifted from Michigan sign stealing to porn theaters.
What the hell was going on in the Supreme Court?
For your entertainment.
Dude, don't go in his office. Make sure you knock. All right, back to your point, Pat. I'm sorry.
No. But this is really difficult. And again, Tony Petitti is going to make a decision that's going to infuriate vast numbers of people, whatever the decision is. And Michigan is going to, if it is a suspension, Michigan's going to fight it with every ounce of ammo they've got. And that's why we're seeing some of these stories coming out.
So I would say, go ahead and suspend. If you want to suspend Harbaugh for good, go ahead. But you can't look. The line of demarcation is more than we're not even bothering with that. But you're gone. That's why I've been saying the nuclear option here is naive. It's naive. I don't think they're thinking more than they are running around with their hair on fire and they want to get Jim Harbaugh. Hey, fine, whatever. Connor Stallions gave the Big Ten the knife to stab Jim Harbaugh, but there's a prison riot going on behind you. Something's going on. Like, I don't know. Yeah. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah. Well, it's why is kind of unprecedented, right? If he levies some kind of penalty, I don't think I don't know. You guys are older than me, so I don't know if you can remember a time where a situation where a conference jumped ahead of the NCAA's investigation, right, to levy a penalty itself. I feel like it's pretty unusual. We don't see it very often. And look, the NCAA's investigation, it's got another several weeks, if not months, right? Because they've got to talk to probably all the coaches and everything. Like, I mean, it's gonna be into after the season, for sure. And then Michigan has 90 days to respond to anything. Like, we're a long way from the NCAA being done. So I assume that's why, right, Tony Petitti is wanting to take matters into his own hands. We just haven't seen a lot of people do it. In just from talking to a few commissioners and other administrators, kind of like asking them privately, hey, what would you do here? I think a lot of them point back to the NCAA. Hey, that's why the NCAA is there. They can handle it. We're hands off. So this is a weird kind of unprecedented situation that the Big Ten may do.
Yeah. Real quick add on that, just from our story, there seems to be, if this person's interpretation of Petitti's view is accurate, a real outrage on Tony Petitti's behalf. This was a quote from a Big Ten administrator. Tony told Michigan this is the worst scandal in Big Ten history, not including game fixing, which it's clearly not. But if that's the way, if that's the way Petitti views this, then might explain why he is trying to get ahead of the NCAA here.
Let me ask you something. Okay, so just how in the world could anyone think that?
Somebody who was involved as a network executive at the time that the Jerry Sandusky stuff was going down and wasn't paying that much attention?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Sandusky, Nassar, those would be the worst scandals. But even on field or recruit, how could somebody? This is not defending Michigan. This is not saying Jim. How could anyone be a commissioner of a major conference and take this and say that? Especially when, okay, we've never heard of anyone do what Connor Stalions done. Do we know? We've never heard. We didn't know that they were all sharing. Well, how extensive does it get? What else is out? Like, how could anyone look back or forward and call? If you have the information that some team played Michigan and had all of their signs because two other teams gave it to them, and then looked at Connor Stalions and said this is the worst thing in the history of the 120 years of the Big Ten. We've had players die. We've had players get sick from workouts. We've had unbelievable.
Think of the Maryland situation.
Yeah.
Right. We've had unbelievable recruiting scandals. Like just back when like teams weren't doing. I mean, how does somebody say that? That's going to show up in a lawsuit. My God, I don't get it. Somebody make that statement make sense to me.
Yeah.
And why anyone would admit it out loud.
Well, this is a Big Ten administrator's interpretation. I mean, maybe it's a direct quote.
I hope not. I hope he never said
know.
that.
Yeah.
And I hope that's not his thinking, because you can't be the judge and be like that.
Right.
Like, I hope that's not true, because that is asinine. I mean, if you're going to make this into a big scandal and the NCAA is going to make Connor Stalions into something that they drop everything and pour all their resources in, then they need to pour resources into all the other ones. And again, I've said all along, it's not whether there's another Connor Stalions, it is whether there's a half a Connor Stalions.
Right.
If you're going to punish Jim Harbaugh with, you're done, buddy. We're wiping you out for the final. Let's see, there's 3 games. There's the Big Ten, 6 games potentially. You're suspended indefinitely. It is the biggest threat ever. Then what happens when there's half a Connor Stalions? Do you give them 2 games? Do you give them? I mean, this thinking by Tony Petitti and the NCAA is he may put like 10 schools on probation.
Well, that's where this could get really. I
Everyone's dropping dimes on everybody. It's fun for us. But if I was running the league, I'd be like, well, let's right. Yeah. Like, I'm shocked there's gambling in this casino, right? What's that, Casablanca or whatever? Like, no, there's not. You don't look. I don't know where this is headed, but it just looks like there's a cliff.
Yeah, the old thing where Hartley Dykes got 4 schools in the Southwest Conference on probation at once for illegally recruiting him.
Yeah.
This if we really go whole hog after this, we could have like maybe all the schools implicated, or at least like more than half of the Big Ten
Iowa?
teams.
What if you're Iowa? I'm going to say Iowa isn't stealing anyone's anything. Okay, I'm just let's just use them as the example. All right. Okay, fair enough. Maybe they are. I'm not. Hawkeyes are they're just busy like getting drunk and cheering punts. That's what they do.
Kirk Ferentz is sitting there watching the old reel-to-reel film in black and white on the wall of his office.
But if I'm Kirk Ferentz, I'm like, wait a minute. this is now a like Carrick Ferentz been coaching a long time. He knows all the stuff that goes on. And he's Connor Stallions crossed the line. Maybe he's offended by that. Fine. I totally get all that. Connor Stallions did cross a line. There's no question. That this sportsmanship policy is very vague. That's crossing the line. But what if he's sitting there going, well, I don't really care what the hell's going on in Michigan. Ohio State, Michigan can, but you know what? Minnesota did this, or Nebraska. Like I can get they can all turn on each other. And if there's one place that didn't do it, like I'd be running internal investigations to find out how hard we can push on everybody else. You can put your whole league in a lot of trouble. I would not feel comfortable if I was any athletic director or any head coach. You may think you didn't do it. Guess what? 1 month ago, if you told Jim Harbaugh this, he would have been like, wait, what? Apparently, because there's been no evidence, but his answer would likely have been, he would have been on that call screaming too, probably. If this had been Ohio State, Connor Stallions had been grown up a Buckeye fan, Jim Harbaugh be screaming about Ohio State. But I just this thing could just mushroom, or they have to just sit there and say, we're only punishing Michigan and we don't care what all you other guys did because we can. I don't know. It seems like I don't know how they're getting out of this. This is my point, I guess.
Well, it opens up a can, right? I mean, it opens it up. When you hand down, like I said, I'm like racking my brain trying to think of the last time a league delivered some big harsh punishment on a school or a coach while the NCAA was digging in their own investigation. And when you do that, yeah, I mean it'll open up a can. So here is kind of like the devil's advocate of what you're saying is this is unlike anything we've ever seen, sort of thing, as far as the scope of it, right? At 65, we reported yesterday, like 65 people were involved, 65 associates. That's according to the NCAA's investigation thus far. And that's a lot. And if there's 65, there's probably at least 50 games scouted, maybe more. Maybe it's person a game. So maybe there's 65 plus. But I think the scope of it is what really is the difference here. But
it's
it doesn't
a hard
matter,
line. Like
right?
it's a hard and fast line of like, as long as you didn't do that, everything else is okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. But like, would you rather have one of Connor Stallion's buddies just film in a game? I mean, like the Penn State at UMass game, or would you like the offensive coordinator at this school saying, here are the signs? I don't know. Maybe that's it. They got to create a hard and fast, as long as you didn't have anybody buy a ticket at another school. But if they're not investigating this stuff and they're not calling and saying, hey, we now have a suggestion, an allegation that schools are sharing stuff to try to beat a common opponent they don't like, and you're not doing anything right now, I'm guessing that's ending up in a lawsuit saying, how serious is this? I don't know. I'm not privy to whatever this lawsuit's going to be, but seems crazy.
I thought you brought up an interesting point. I forgot Friday is a holiday, so court won't be in session. So yeah, I mean, if the Big Ten waits long enough, then there's no time for an injunction potentially before the Penn State game, which means obviously Michigan would go in potentially without its coach.
A proper judge at the Eastern District of Michigan.
Yeah, coming on the holiday.
U.S. Federal Court. He might be working late Thursday night. I'm sure that I don't know how all that works, but I don't know. Pretty wild. All right. Well, that's where we're at. It's only getting juicier. And I just, monster penalty for Harbaugh potentially in Michigan. I mean, you wipe out a guy's coach. That's about as aggressive as it gets. That's about other than a postseason ban, that's as aggressive. I mean, death penalty, I guess, or something like that. Know your sportsmanship, folks. Know your sportsmanship. All right. We'll be back after this message. Probably talk some football. All right. Also this weekend, number 3 Michigan at number 11 Penn State. Hey, any subplots of this? This is a huge football game.
Huge game.
Huge game. We've been waiting. How many headlines can Michigan create when they haven't played a damn game yet?
Yeah. Yeah. Yet to play a ranked opponent, and they
drama.
game.
This is why I'm like, man, isn't at some point Michigan just like, Jim, it's like we're worn out. Just go somewhere else and we'll hire another coach. Like it's like Urban just wore out Ohio State eventually.
Right.
It's the same with I remember Saban with LSU. They were like at the end when he was kept flirting every year with going to the NFL finally. When he went, they were like, thank God.
Yeah. Like I'm exhausted. This is just exhausting. Run your staff better. Like you need to put the fear of God in these grad assistants or whatever, that you don't step out of line or I will kill you and end your career. He didn't do all that. So there's plenty of Jim Harbaugh blame to go around, but I would just be like, please, Raiders, we'll kick in. But they are 9-0. They're going to Penn State 8-1. Penn State season almost as boring. They've had one interesting game. They lost it. Like this is the boringest, two boring teams. We had no idea. How good is Penn State? I don't know. How good is Michigan? I don't know. They both look good at times. Two tremendous defenses. James Franklin desperately needs this big win. Same story as we had against Ohio State. They lose 20-12. Pat, your thoughts on the showdown noon in Happy Valley?
Well, we don't know who's going to be on the sidelines coaching. We don't know how much attention and time the head coach at Michigan has actually spent on coaching this week. This is like the mother of all distractions here. And on paper, Michigan is not just better, but probably a lot better. Dan, you and I saw Penn State in person. We were underwhelmed. They've got to play much, much better. Maybe the home field will help them. Maybe Michigan is not as prepared as they would be under normal circumstances and thus a little bit vulnerable. But like the amount of everything swirling around, this will be an incredible test of the Michigan players' focus. It was, okay, you can get through some controversy when you're playing Michigan State and when you're playing Purdue. Penn State's a little bit of a different animal, and we'll see how they handle that. I expect they will handle it well, but got to see it on the field. This is becomes just an absolutely fascinating game.
It is. I'm heading up there, just a 3-hour or so drive from DC. So I'm excited for this one. In fact, I think it's like my third consecutive Penn State Michigan Happy Valley game. I've covered the one 2 years ago and the one 4 years ago. And man, the Penn State fans show out for this one. I think both of those games, those previous games, were whiteouts. They show out for this one. It gets loud, and I think it's supposed to be typical, like November, like pretty chilly weather. Kickoff at noon. So I'm excited for this one. I don't know really what to expect. I mean, Michigan has been the most dominant team in college football this year, but they're also probably the only top 10, maybe top 25 team who hasn't played a ranked opponent. So I don't know what to think. This will be, not only will this be their first real test against opponent-wise, just the other team, but it's a road game in a loud place that's difficult to play in here. And it comes amid all of this controversy all week, and they might not have their head coach. It's just fascinating to see what's going to happen. Can you imagine? I'm sure there's Penn State and James Franklin have never been rooted for like they will on Saturday by a vast majority of people who want to see the Wolverines in their coach, if he's not there or there, lose.
To me, this has got to be, if J.J. McCarthy is a first-round pick, if J.J. McCarthy is a Heisman Trophy winner, if J.J. McCarthy is as Harbaugh has said, potentially the greatest quarterback to ever play at the University of Michigan, a list which includes both him and Tom Brady. Granted, Brady was not peak Brady at the time, but he was pretty dang good. Then J.J. McCarthy needs to play like that this week. He was a little off last week, but he still completes an enormous amount of his passes. Ohio State was not able to really stretch the field or get big vertical plays despite having Marvin Harrison Jr. It was basically Marvin Harrison Jr. was it. And he made some incredible catches in that game, and that was the deciding factor against Penn State. We talked about this. If Marvin Harrison Jr. from Philadelphia decided to stay in his home state school, Penn State very well may have won that game. I think if Michigan can get that kind of downfield attack, they don't have Marvin Harrison by any means, but they do have they have a better quarterback. And that's on JJ McCarthy. Then they probably should win. Blake Corum is incredible around the goal line. We have not seen Donovan Edwards break out yet. And in the defense, I will say this, no matter how mad people get at their sign stealing, people are like, that defense is good. No one's denying that. They got some players. So I don't know. I would think Michigan is I think they are favored, right? But this is the JJ McCarthy game. I mean, this is it. You can't just be like, yeah, we beat all these other teams, I'm great. And like, this is the game you got to be really good. And we have seen across college football quarterbacks step up in these games, whether it's Michael Penix or it's Bo Nix or it's even Caleb Williams in losses, or it's Jaden Daniels, or even, Jalen Milroe the other day. It's like, this is Alabama, LSU. You got to make plays. So that's who I'm focused on. The one benefit, if Harbaugh isn't there, is he didn't call the plays. Harbaugh's benefit to the program is probably more Sunday through Friday. Not that not having Jim Harbaugh it would probably help to have Jim Harbaugh on the sideline, no question. But it's not like, I think like a Lincoln Riley has more of like impact on an act, right? So I think that would be one interesting factor in this. But
this game, by the way, pits the number one defense in total yards, Michigan, against number 2 defense in total yards, Penn State. Yeah. They're separated by like 3 yards. And I think when it comes to scoring, it's number 1 and number 3. Michigan number 1, 6.7 points a game, and Penn State 11.9 a game. I don't know what is the over.
But neither have played a damn team. That's
right.
The thing.
Well, except Penn State.
One game. And Ohio State scored 20.
Yeah. Over under is 44.5. But
I was just checking the weather too for Saturday. It doesn't look like it's going to be a rain game or an off field. Mm-mm. So 46 and partly sunny.
Yeah.
Very much a November Big Ten game.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. It's not the only game. Guess what? The boring old SEC's playing football. The just football. It doesn't mean more.
I think some SEC folks are a little jealous, right? Of the Big Ten attention. They're like, wait a second. We got to cause some controversy. We got to get a scandal going. We're usually the ones like in this position.
Yes, that's right. Boring.
We need our lunatic fringe to be the lunatic fringe. Come on.
Sankey is like he's like controlling it. Dear leader has got control over everything. And it's just sort of like everything. He's running the league perfectly. Like, just play some football. We're good. I mean, like, everything in the Big Ten is a battle royale. Like, it was even like the Iowa Northwestern game. I made the crack about Murphy's Bleachers, like, tough day at Murphy's Bleachers, standing up top, freezing, watching that bad game. Word comes out. Who knows if this is, I don't know how you measure this in history, but Murphy's Bleachers says they sold more beer on Saturday than any day in the history of their operation. This is a bar that sits across the street from the outfield of Wrigley Field and has bleachers on their roof. You can watch the Cubs. Like even a bad football game sets records for something.
And that's where Iowa truly excels. By God, if you got to watch that team, you drink a lot.
Defense, punting, and beer drinking. And it was not the Northwestern people. They maybe like 2 guys were in there in purple helping out.
Exactly.
But Iowa came strong. I think Iowa could win that shot challenge too. I think Iowa's now my team that could take, if they make the College World Series, Rocco's, because they're close. They got proximity. Dudes would just be running across from Council Bluffs all day. Let's just go up there and contribute.
They would be a dominant force.
Iowa could do it. Anyway, Ole Miss, Georgia. Ole Miss 10, Georgia 2, according to the playoff committee, get your popcorn ready. Last time Ole Miss had a game, big game, kind of a no-show. Didn't do anything against Alabama. It was a disappointing loss, and we thought, geez, is Lane Kiffin's program like going to make that jump to at least compete? That was what was disappointing in that game. They have responded. They beat LSU by 6. They beat Arkansas by 7. They beat Auburn by 7. They beat Vandy by 25. Then they beat A&M by 3. They responded with 5 wins. They are battle tested. I would give them that. They are winning games, tight games. Pat, can they walk into the hedges and take on the dogs? Does Ole Miss have it in them? Jackson Dart, Quinshawn Judkins, can they do it?
I don't think so. But you know what? I mean, Missouri stayed on the field for 4 quarters against Georgia, so Mississippi probably can as well. Mississippi, I think, has a better quarterback than Missouri does. They've got you mentioned, very good running back in Judkins. I don't know whether their defense is good enough. I suspect Georgia will be able to move the ball pretty consistently against them. As long as Carson Beck, avoids major errors, which he's done a very good job of for the most part here recently. I think they're going to be tough to beat at home. And it's interesting if you watch the broadcast of Missouri, Georgia, the announcers were almost, one of the analysts, I don't remember who it was almost hinting that like Brock Bowers is about ready to go. I don't know whether you put him in this game, but it seems like Brock Bowers is accelerating his timetable. And if he doesn't play this week, I wouldn't be shocked if he plays next week in Neyland Stadium against Tennessee.
Yeah. Yeah. That he had remember that tightrope surgery we talked about it a couple of weeks ago, and it's the turnaround time for that is as quickly as 2 weeks sometimes, but probably more like three-ish weeks. And so we're getting into that territory. Yeah, they, I actually think that Ole Miss can go in there and win. I am concerned about Ole Miss defense in slowing Georgia. I know Georgia's not incredibly explosive on offense, especially without Bowers, but Ole Miss has struggled defensively. Now, I mean, A&M put up 35 points and almost won that game. And even Auburn, who struggles to move the ball, scored 3 touchdowns against Ole Miss. So that's the concern. But can Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin, hog the ball? Basically, can they keep can Judkins? Can they keep the ball and kind of pound it? I mean, not a lot of teams can do that against Georgia. So I doubt that. But I think it's going to be a tight game. And like Dan kind of mentioned the game against Alabama earlier this year, like it seemed like there was so much confidence around Ole Miss that they could go in and get susceptible Alabama, and they didn't show up offensively at all. So I think maybe that changes, and they at least show up for this game. I would be concerned that their defense just isn't going to do enough to win it in the end.
Interesting on Bowers. What do you wait? And this is a little bit where Georgia should be able to beat Missouri and Ole Miss at home, and then go to Tennessee and win. They should. But there's also this sort of softening bit, right? Ole Miss is going to get Georgia after a tough, hard-fought game against Missouri. And even the week, Florida, they rolled over, but that's still a tough game. And does Ole Miss, at the very least, take enough out of them where Georgia's a little weaker, limping into Tennessee? Not just injuries, but just exhaustion, mental exhaustion, all of this stuff. So really interesting little period here. I don't really care what the ratings are going to be tonight, but I think if they do beat Ole Miss, they move to number 1. They might already be number 1.
Yeah, we'll get that Tuesday night.
Well, they're talk about a backloaded schedule. I mean, I don't think Georgia played a ranked team until maybe Missouri.
Kentucky was ranked.
Kentucky was ranked.
at the time. Yeah. But like, God, Lee, I mean, they get Florida, which I know is not great, but still it's a big rivalry game and a big game. And they get Florida, Missouri, Ole Miss, and Georgia. I mean, boom, 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 boom after a starting slate that and then Tennessee, right?
Yeah.
Tennessee,
and then you finish with Georgia Tech. They get 3 ranked teams bookended by 2 rivalry games.
Yeah.
I mean, that's quite a stretch to close.
Yeah.
And
then they might get Alabama.
And they might get Alabama.
The old master.
Well, got to earn it. It's the SEC. It's just football. Just football. No drama. No drama league. Just football. It's of lesser interest. I mean, these are the 2 big games this weekend. But I am intrigued to see Tennessee and Missouri, both 7-2.
Mm-hmm.
The game's at Mizzou. The Vols get Georgia in a week. And obviously winning this game sets up a mega clash back in Knoxville, momentum, all of that stuff.
Before the East, basically, right? I mean, Tennessee would have to finish off Vanderbilt, right? And Vanderbilt to end the year.
Tennessee could still win the East, right?
But they could win the East. Yeah, if they beat Georgia, if they beat Missouri, Georgia, they'll have that game again into the year against Vanderbilt, and they win that. They go to the championship game.
Right, because they have 2 losses. They lost to Florida and Alabama.
Yeah. They got the 2 losses.
Okay.
Whoops.
Yeah.
So
that
they
Florida
need Georgia.
losses.
They need Georgia to
lose
to Ole Miss.
Yeah.
But realistically, Missouri, Tennessee is for second in the SEC, and maybe we'll see with LSU. But I can just tell you this from a Missouri standpoint, having gone to school there, they are eternally frustrated that they don't get into big bowls, and that's on them for not having enough fans to buy tickets. But if you beat Tennessee here and you get into the clubhouse at 10-2, Missouri might finally get a bid to a glamour bowl game that they've been hankering for. If you go back like the 2017, that was ranked number 1 for a while and barely missed a BCS championship game, and then they got plummeted down to the, I don't know what bowl it was, but they wanted to go to the Orange Bowl and they didn't get that. So anyway, that's kind of what's at stake for Missouri.
By the way, if we were in the era of the expanded playoff, this game is a play-in game in a lot of ways, game, right? The loser of this game is almost certainly out, not at 9-3 at best, of getting an at-large berth, one of the 6 or 7 at-large berths. But yeah, this is a game where the winner, can stay alive. So these are the kind of games that you think about in an expanded playoff realm for an at-large berth that are really important.
Huge.
Yeah. Whole bunch of other ones too. But in this case, it's just how good is your season? Because if Missouri can come in at 10-2, that's a great season for them. I think they've had a great season anyway, but this is that one to kind of put the cap on it and go. But yeah, this would be playoffs. And then Georgia's sitting there saying, well, I want the bye or I want home field or whatever the heck. There's some other elements to it and all of that. All right. Quick People's Court. We had a situation in Florida again. Mm-hmm. Florida man.
He's active.
Florida? Producing stories?
Florida,
Get out of here.
Yeah. Florida man was cited this week for driving a truck that he had painted, that was painted similar to the look of the U.S. Border Patrol. Kind of got the white and the green and all that. But he wrote Booty Patrol on it.
Oh, perfect. Florida.
Instead of Border Patrol, it was Booty Patrol. The driver was pulled over Sunday. This is NBC News. Glad this made NBC News. Nothing else going on in the world for NBC. I mean, we could talk about this because we're an idiotic college football podcast.
Yeah. NBC, Gaza, Ukraine. Come on, man.
I don't know. Seems like there's things going on in the world. Anyway, not my purview. The driver was pulled over Sunday and cited under a law that deals with prohibited vehicle lights that resemble those of law enforcement. The sheriff's office posted the truck on social media to, quote, raise awareness about people impersonating authorities. No, they did that because it's funny. They did that. Even the cops want to go viral. It does look just like a Border Patrol, but it says Booty Patrol. My point would be, what border is it? They don't have I guess they have a border. All of it's a border. I guess
Yeah, but
people
not
come
with-
over
not
by
with-
sea.
Yeah, there is no border with any international. There's not an international border other than the
Well,
water.
The water, I guess. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff smuggled through Florida. Anyway, appropriate punishment, Justice Forde, on booty, if you pay booty patrol on your truck. And would this even work? Would this impress? Let's say this guy's looking to meet a nice young lady, and he's driving
A
the
nice young lady. Sure. Booty patrol truck driver is like, ooh, I would love a nice proper woman.
Or else whatever he's doing, would this impress any female motorist or male motor? I don't really care what motorist. No judgment. This is judgment-free zone, although this is the people's court. Judgment-free on that.
Yeah.
Would this help him attract booty if he lets the world know he's on patrol for this thing?
Well, in terms of punishment, we're not throwing the Tony Petitti book at him at all. I mean, he's let go on time served or whatever, just having to go get booked and go get talk to people. He's free to go, and it's Florida. Yeah, you know what? Shoot your shot. It's going to work down there. It's going to work in the world's most unhinged state. You drive that thing around Pensacola or Panama City. Yeah, you're getting booty. You are getting booty. Yes.
Yeah.
The Redneck Riviera.
Stay on the panhandle. My people, stay on the panhandle there. Yeah. Get all the booty you want with that truck.
Yeah.
No problem.
Gulf Shores or
he needs a hashtag counter thing like now of how much booty he gets underneath where it says booty patrol. You know?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, diagonal, 5, 6, 7.
There's a different part where he has a symbol, like a seal. This was in DeSoto County, which is where Arcadia, Florida, where my in-laws used to live. There is they had a symbol, like a seal, that kind of looked like the Border Patrol, but it was it said where'd it go? I want to make sure I get the language right. National Booty Behavior Protection is what the truck said.
Booty behavior. Okay.
Wait, well, no, the Guardian too. Isn't this a serious thing? They found the guy. Hold on. What Daily Mail sleeping? I need my British. I don't need the fancy ass Guardian getting this Daily Mail.
I think we're breaking up with the Daily Mail.
No. There's a lot of solid. 18-year-old Gabrielle Luviano. I'm sorry. He did an interview with the USA Today.
Okay.
It's just funny. It was never meant to be anything bad. I mean, look, they already got me. He said he's going to pay his fine, and the support, the people on social media were supporting Gabrielle. I mean, you're 18.
Yeah. No.
Arcadia, Florida, not exactly like South Beach.
Yeah. What if the booty he gets is retiree booty?
Yeah, you got to advertise. I mean, who knows? Anyway, I say just slap on the wrist, but I don't know. Maybe suspended indefinitely. What do I know? Apparently, suspended indefinitely. You have to go clean out the offices at Big Ten headquarters in Chicago.
Pandora's box.
Anyway,
Dan. You
what's
can't
that?
open up Pandora's box.
It is
here.
Pandora's. I'm not me. I don't fall for these traps. I saw this cliff coming from day one. I don't know if anyone else running college athletics did. But I did. Yeah, we're not opening Pandora's box. Next thing you know, everyone's painting. This guy painted a little bit. What is it? Anyway, that's it. All right, that's the ridiculous show. I never thought we'd be discussing all of this crap in the middle of November, but it is. It's only heating up. So Thursday's show should be fantastic. It's coming. The federal courts may shut down, but we ain't.
It's only getting better.
Harbaugh versus Petitti. Let's go. Love it. Cage match. And then we get actual football. What's better than that? All right. Continue to share us on social media. Tell your friends about us. We try to handle these things in, some kind of depth. We try. Like we said, we're not good at just screaming one or the other.
Yeah.
Overreacting.
This is a complicated, difficult deal. So for the people that just want to reduce it to a simple, yes, do this. No, don't do that. It's difficult to do. I'm
someone who, takes very measured opinions. I as the author of Death to the BCS, wasn't an overreaction at all. All right. We'll talk to you later this week. Could be emergency pods. I literally have no idea what's going to happen the next 4 days.
Seriously. Anything is possible. Stay tuned. Stay ready.
Yeah, a lot of things are possible. I'll leave you with that little that hint. A lot of things are possible. Talk to you later.